Hello everyone. So like I said, I am back with the next video within our 12th house series. This is gonna be Uranus slash Aquarius in the 12th house. So let's get started with the Greek mythology. So Uranus is Cronus's, Cronus represented by Saturn. I'll put the link in the description box below so you can watch that. Uranus is Cronus and everybody's daddy. Uranus is literally God. God before Zeus, God before Cronus, like the God. So if Uranus is God, Cronus is Jesus. Make sense? And Uranus and Gaia, which is the earth, are married, I guess. He also creates the earth as well as the universe and everything that's on it. So, you know, all of that's on the earth is born and raised by Gaia. So every time the sun meets the earth, they conceive a child, which leads to them conceiving hella children. A lot of children, okay? So we have the Titans. These are the Greek giants, the Greek gods like Zeus, Aphrodite, Athena, all of them, okay? So he gave birth to them. They conceived the Cyclopses, the monsters with the one eyeball. They created, I think, even like Typhon and just monsters like that. They created everything because they were the original, like, God, like Adam and Eve, pretty much, if that makes any sense, but bigger than Adam and Eve because it was literally like Sky Daddy. So with all of these children being conceived, it started off cool until eventually started to disgust started to disgust Uranus, and due to him being disgusted by his own creations, he decides to hide them in Gaia's womb, which I had mentioned previously. And of course, this frustrates her over time because she's just like, what the heck, and decides to pull from her bosom. I didn't know a earth could have a bosom. Pulls from her bosom this steel rod that she gives to Cronus, the sun slash Capricorn leader, who is going to castrate his father Uranus, which the phallus falls into the water. Aphrodite rises, and there you go. That is the story of Uranus. But I really want to like dig a little bit more into the story and relate it to Uranus as a planet and like what this really means and why certain parts of it are so important. So first and foremost, what you really need to understand about Uranus and Aquarius in general, but let's focus on Uranus right now, is that wherever it sits on your chart is where there are possible developments, innovations, and genius ideas, creative genius ideas lie there. That is what Uranus represents, okay? Uranus as a planet in general, it represents sudden changes. It represents like what Aquarius represents, justice for all. It represents innovation, experimentation, mad genius, eccentricity, rebellion, and just the non-conformity of life. Anything that is not rooted in tradition is 9 times out of 10 very Uranian, very Aquarian. Yeah, techie, sciencey, all of that. Aliens, the far out there, anything that makes you stand out and be different is very Uranus, Aquarius driven. So wherever this is placed on your chart is where all of that is going to lie. But the thing with the story about Uranus creating all of those children and how he ended up being disgusted about them is very Uranian as well. Us as human beings and people, we can really be dead set and have tunnel vision on an outcome that we want or a vision that we have for the world to see without really taking into consideration little details of human nature and how people work and how feelings and emotions and stuff work. Having to tap into all of these things versus just focusing in on what you want. So the problem with this tunnel vision is that you could want it so badly that once it's finally created, you realize it didn't pan out the way that you wanted to. I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but what I'm trying to say pretty much is that Aquariuses and Capricorns have a lot more in common than what you would think. One of them is wanting to set the rules and be a leader in a way, but Aquarius is extremely unconventional in regards to that. So there was also a part in the story where when Cronus was castrating his father, Gaia had blood splattered all over her body or earthly body, and that created something called Furies. I will place that word here. I'm gonna say Furies because what this little detail in the research or the book that I was reading that was telling me, what it reminded me of was fury, being furious, being angered. And this was really, really important for me to bring this up. This is exactly what the book said, and I'm going to expound upon it. It said, that part of us which is more earthly or Saturnian can cut off the creative impulse of Uranus. Facts, okay? Facts on facts on facts. Okay, so wherever Uranus again sits on your chart, it's going to create that. And that's why this why that Greek story is so important. Way more important than the water bearer story, which I didn't even go over. I might go over it a little bit later, but whatever. This is so important because this is like an Aquarius's or Uranus ruled person's life. Either they feel fury and anger due to constant repression of who they are and their non-conformative ways, them having to always repress how different they are will cause a bitterness, will cause their own self-isolation, their own loneliness, because there is always going to be this cloud over them, asking and wondering, are these people going to accept me? Are they going to like me? Or am I going to have another situation where I feel like I'm being thrown out or exiled before I'm even given a chance? It's that type of fury, but can also be the type of fury that people just project onto you, which a lot of Aquarius placements have experienced. I've definitely experienced it. Aquarius stellium here. So the fury can not only just come from you, the fury can come from others because you were non-conforming. So the world at large around you, like society and the government as a whole, is ruled by Saturn, I believe. I think the government is very Saturnian, and that's the type of world that an Aquarius is living in. So when Aquarius is living in a world that has these certain set of rules that were there before their time, before their own like parents or their grandparents' time, you know, Aquarius living in that world, they're going to ruffle many people's feathers because they are going to say and do things that are not the status quo, that are going to make people uncomfortable, even if they don't even know why they're uncomfortable. But Aquarius is the type to raise that. And this is really, really important that I bring this up because the main goal here, no matter where Uranus sits in your chart, whether the 12th house or otherwise, no matter how uncomfortable you may feel, no matter what you think the consequences may be, do it anyway. Do it anyway, because 9 times out of 10, wherever that Uranus placement is, that is where you were meant to shake things up. That is where you are meant to stand out in a maybe awkward way. And it's not about like, oh, if I only am rebellious in the 9th house associated with 9th house things, then it will be a good thing. Instead of being ostracized, it will make sense because I'm actually doing it in the house where it belongs. No, it really doesn't matter what house it is in, okay? You are going to cause a lot of pushback, but you will also find people who will be inspired by you, who will be attracted to your fearlessness. And that is way more rewarding than the millions of consequences you may experience being yourself, because I think the goal is to find full comfort in that placement or in that house that Uranus is in. Full comfort in being a weirdo, you know, flying your freak flag or whatever. And another part of this story that stood out and I think is really, really important is Aphrodite being born, okay? Aphrodite being born represents this, in this case, this is whole almost warlike situation going on with Uranus and his kids, and the castration takes part. So much violence, so much control amongst the two energies here. But then Libra comes about and it's like, all right, I'm representing harmony here. I'm representing peace. Maybe we should compromise instead of doing what we're doing. And I think that that was really important as well, because I think that's kind of where we're at in society today, if I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not one to be fully left or fully right with anything. And I won't even say I'm neutral, because I'm very passionate about what it is that I believe in. But my beliefs are so all over the place and so complex. There's no way that I can be put in a box. So I've come to the realization that we don't live in a world where you can do an Aquarius thing and just change things overnight and force people to do what you want to do. I mean, you can, but you have to understand that that will create a certain type of chaos and that things will be 10 times worse before they get better. So having a type of Libra, Taurus, Venusian energy come into the play and say, how about we compromise for a little bit? Or how about, okay, if we're going to have healthcare still, instead of just having no healthcare and just allowing people to just go to hospitals whenever they need or whatever, how about we make healthcare for all, universal? Or how about, just finding compromises in the institutions that have already been placed here by Saturnian influence. All the things that represents Saturn, all of the conformative, very traditional ways of life. We could stand to get rid of some of it, and we could stand to keep a little bit of it, but splash innovation and newness over top of it. And I think that that's kind of the point of Aphrodite being born out of this, saying we didn't have to cut off the creative impulse of Uranus, and we didn't have to kill Uranus to begin with. We didn't have to do that, but you did. And maybe for the future you can learn better and compromise, which actually kind of happens with Cronus and Zeus in a little way. Makes even more sense. Now I'm coming to a new understanding, is that maybe there was no peace and harmony until Aphrodite was born, right? Interesting. And another thing that really caught my attention and that I really, really liked about this story was how it shows the shadow side of Uranus. Uranus/Aquarius. A problem that Uranus and Aquarius energy can have is changing just for the sake of changing, and being rebellious just for the sake of being rebellious. Doing these things just for the sake of attention, because possibly you feel alone most of the time, even though people can always see you because you stand out in your eccentric way. It's not always done in a way that's like your opposite sign, Leo, where Leo just naturally shines. You shine too, but it's like an awkward type of shine. And I think that sometimes an Aquarius can get lost in that and get lost in feeling like they're not being viewed in the light that they want to be viewed. So they'll just be reckless just to be reckless, but they think that it's being rebellious, and they'll change things just for changing because they don't want to be like everybody else, and start developing this kind of superiority complex like a Capricorn, only their superiority complex is rooted in nonconformity, and Saturnian superior complex is rooted in conformity. And that's why I feel like those two could get along but can also bump heads. I think the problem is that Saturn is so long and like pounds on you for such a long time that you don't even it just feels like forever, and it feels a lot worse than what it is, when really it's making you stronger. Where I don't really think that Uranus's point is to make you stronger. It's literally just meant to come in and shake things up and make change what isn't working anymore. So in that way it can become really, really like traumatizing, because an Aquarius or Uranus is more like, I don't care, just change it. You know what? I think a really good example of this would be COVID. The Saturnian way to go about COVID is kind of what we did with a little splash of Venus, letting people compromise and doing whatever they wanted, even though that wasn't what they should have been doing. So let me take it back. In the very, very beginning of COVID was straight up Saturn. You gotta stay in the house. You gotta wear a mask. You can't come in here if you don't have a mask. You gotta get boosted. All of that very Saturnian, okay? Aquarius energy in that time frame would have been very much, we're not compromising anything. You are going to stay in your house for all of these months, even if it takes years. I don't care if I have to create a delivery service for the world. I don't care. So there will be good within that. We will probably get a lot more free stuff. We will probably get a lot more money that we needed at that time and still need now. We probably would have gotten all of that. But there probably would have been so many people going crazy, a lot more protests, a lot more fires and picketing, a lot more riots, like basically what French Revolution was like. That was very Aquarius as well, because it took such a 180 that the violence only escalated more, okay? It didn't get better before it got worse. It had to get worse. That's the fear. But Aquarius energy is not really afraid of that. Or maybe they don't know that they're not afraid of that until it's born, and then there you go, kind of like Uranus with his kids. So yeah, that was a lot, but I really wanted to go through that because I feel like that story is extremely important and does a really great job at expressing the kookiness and the crazy and the genius of Uranus. So, with oh, right, and last but not least, I'm also gonna bring in the second Greek mythology story quickly. This is about the water bearer. I'm not going to go into detail, but basically Zeus found himself a little boy, or like a teenage boy, whatever, this handsome Aquarius man who was like a socialite pretty much, and he had him come to one of his parties where he had this pail of wine. Actually, it wasn't water, it was actually wine, I'm pretty sure. Maybe there's another story where it's water, but I'm going with the one with wine because it makes more sense. I would be like for wine too. So he's pouring it to the rich people and completely ignoring those who are without or those who have less than. And then just decides out of nowhere in an abrupt manner, you know what, no, F this. I'm going to give this to the people that don't ever get it. And then he starts pouring it to them. I forget how it ends, but that is the representation of the water bearer. And that is Aquarian. That is Aquarius energy. That would so be Aquarian. I could so see an Aquarius being a socialite, being in these higher spaces and making a huge change and flipping it on its head. That's the entire point. And that is actually the entire point of Uranus in the 12th house, which we will start and get into now. So when I was reading about Uranus in the 12th house, the first thing that came to my mind was past life regressions. Now, I don't know if you guys know what past life regressions are, but it sounds very, very cool. It sounds like something that I would want to do. But you essentially go to this person who is an expert at hypnosis. And they make it so that you become like you're in a dreamlike state, and then an even deeper state, into deep into the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind. And you start to have visions and memories of past lives, and start to understand or realize maybe why you don't get along with this person. You find out that they were a cousin in the past life that stabbed you in the back or threw you off a cliff or something like that. Or you find out, why do I love this person so much? And you find out that they were your mother and you guys were really close in a past life, stuff like that. This is what I think of when I think of Uranus in the 12th house. It's like combining this supernatural techie world full of innovation and merging it with the 12th house, representing the collective, but in a subconscious manner or an unconscious manner. Aquarius is about the collective, but it was about the outside world of helping one another and ensuring that everybody has what they need and that they aren't being heard and, oppressed. That's what that is. But Pisces is about the collective, like us outside of ourselves, our souls merging, our souls connecting. And when you combine those two together, I feel like it can be very, very powerful. And there have been a few psychologists and therapists whose main goal is to get you to dive deep into those past life experiences, or even something light. I don't know what it's called, but I think they're called psychotherapists as well. They don't do necessarily hypnosis, I don't think, but they create a situation or create a space where they keep you into like a deep sense of self, kind of like a dreamlike state too, but you're not really dreaming, and it's not meant to tap into a past life. It's meant to, like, you're basically reliving childhood trauma, childhood things, which can be kind of scary for those who have been through some really, really terrible things. But the entire point of these psychotherapists and these people doing these things is meant to help you tap into those traumas, those tensions, those pains that you have been carrying for years without even realizing in certain cases, meeting it head on, feeling it from a completely different perspective. And I imagine you stepping outside of yourself and watching yourself, and then understanding how to process it and then releasing it, finding liberation and freedom through diving headfirst into the unconscious mind and meeting your traumas, your tensions, your fears, all of that, understanding it fully, and then you're free. Meeting your pain and then freeing yourself from that pain. But another shadow side of having this placement can be that, Uranus and Aquarian minds can be very political, forward thinking, but the problem is that if they are not more on their evolved side, it can be more so compulsive, versus really thought out in regards to what they want to do politically. It can just be this thing that kind of lingers, like they've always kind of wanted to do this, or they could feel or sense that this was becoming a thing. What the book mentioned was Hitler. So what I'm getting from that is that in an unconscious way, he could understand and feel that people were finding somebody or looking for a scapegoat to make excuses or make themselves feel better about their current circumstances from World War I. So he began to sense and feel it before actually acting on it. That's very Uranus in the 12th house. And that was very compulsive, as you can say. That's a very light way to say it, but you know what I mean. And if this placement is aspected very, very well, they can really tap into some incredible knowledge, incredible wisdom that they can share for others. But if it can be badly aspected, it can be a situation where they have a lot of baggage to clear out, a lot of neurosis and complexities in their personality and in their lives and their psyche that they need to clear out before they can tap into what they have in that intuition and give to others. And naturally, when we're dealing with the house like the 12th house, which is ruled by Pisces and Neptune, they can be really thrown off depending on the energies around them. If there's too much tension and anger surrounding them, that can really mess up their entire process and and something like Uranus, which is so quick and random, that must be a lot. You probably would get like a wave or a smack in the face of random emotion that doesn't even belong to you, and yeah, I wouldn't want that. And something else that is really, really important that of course I'm going to bring up, which I know any Aquarius that doesn't really either doesn't follow astrology or doesn't want to, doesn't really want to accept this, but Aquariuses, I feel like a lot of Aquariuses deal with a lot of isolation and loneliness and maybe don't realize, I feel like as an Aquarius still am, I love my alone time. I love spending time with myself. But every now and again, you'll have those moments where you really want to be with people. And then you start going on a whirlwind thinking about who are my people? Who are the people that will truly allow me to be myself full on, no matter what? Who will stand by you through the good, bad, and the ugly? Who are they? And I'm going on a tangent, but what I'm trying to say is that these people could really benefit from using those same things that I just mentioned with psychotherapy and psychoanalysis, past life regression even. They could really use all of those things for themselves. These people tend to be into politics and spiritualism. So in one way or another, they will have to find a way to use all of this knowledge and dive deep into themselves so they can figure out how to pull themselves out of that isolation and loneliness, and what is it about themselves that they can work on or fix that will create more community for them, because this is a sign in the house that they rule, which is the 11th house, is all about community. And in my personal opinion, there's something sadder than somebody who was such a community force going home and not really having people that they feel as though that they can really trust and be whole around, even their ugliest selves. So, that's important. It's important to have people like that they can see you like that, and that they're gonna stay and that you'll do the same for them. Not to the point where it's toxic. I'm talking about those moments in life where you know what I'm talking about. Those moments, those depressive moments in life. Now, if you are always going through this on a constant, that is something whole else. You need a therapist. Everybody needs a therapist. But I think that this is very important that I say this because I think a lot of Aquarius placements struggle with that. Even Leo placements, they're opposite sign, but another video for another day. Okay, so now we're going to get into the past life experience of Uranus / Aquarius. Past life experience of Aquarius in the 12th house. I'm sorry. Okay, so Aquarius in the 12th house is going to be simple, just like Sagittarius in the 12th house. This is a placement where in a past life, either you were the victim or you were the one that harmed a victim. But it's an accidental situation. Once again, a grave accident that 9 times out of 10 resulted in death, either for you or for someone else. And quite frankly, there was nothing that really needed to be done in the moment to evoke a feeling of consequence or sadness or responsibility, guilt, all of that, because the action itself alone probably caused all of that, which makes sense. I could see that as an Aquarius. Whereas maybe other signs wouldn't see it as much. But something else that this article mentioned, and I'm going to actually put the link of this article below, that has all of the past life explanations. But something else that this article mentioned is the one issue that this person can have in this lifetime with Uranus in the 12th house, if they weren't the victim and they caused somebody else's death, is that even if they initially in a past life felt that guilt and they didn't really need to go through anything to understand what happened was really, really bad, and now they need to chill out, you know, in this life they may be the type to be like, well, I mean, like, it wasn't fully my fault. Like, if they're not going to be the type to take ownership of it, maybe this life they're going to have to go through a lot to understand the importance of consideration, the importance of being careful and cautious in a lot of moments. And if they happen to be the victim, then the only thing that they're going to have to worry about or learn how to build up is their confidence, being able to just pop out whenever, being, I guess, in a way, less cautious. Still cautious, but like not to the extreme like a Saturnian would need to be. Scorpio even, because, you know, it didn't really surprise me that there really wasn't much to say for Uranus, because like I said, I feel like for most Aquariuses, what you see is kind of what you get. The rest of the chart can change that, obviously. I'm just rambling on at this point because I'm in shock with how quick that was, and I kind of feel bad. I might have to revisit this, but hope you guys enjoyed what I just got for you, what I just gave ya, all that jazz. And I will be back for my final 12th house video, Pisces/Neptune in the 12th house. Cannot wait, okay? Oh my goodness, this has been so long. And I don't mean like, oh my goodness, like I didn't enjoy this. I did, but I'm ready to talk about other astrological things. Like, this was like a lot hard. This is a lot harder than people think, okay? Like, creating content, even content that you love, is hard. And I'm not that great at expressing myself fully sometimes. Like, I can express myself, like, haha, I can express myself, but I can't be concise. And that's the goal that I'm going to get for these videos. So somebody please teach me. Anyway, I'll see you in my next video.